Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancer challenges. My name is Yuri, I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Gabriella Yan, a founder of the TRAppe platform that curates a collection of sustainable hotels, restaurants, tours, and experiences, who has been juggling multiple freelancing jobs and working to network and gain traction for the business she's building. So, welcome, Gabriella.
Thank you so much for having me.
I would love to start with the easiest question ever. For
Okay.
you, what is the most challenging part of being a freelancer?
I think if I'm being super honest, the most challenging part about freelancing is probably the fact that you don't have a stable salary. Like I would love to say, I mean, for sure, I only take on projects that I love, but it's been a few years since I've had like a set salary that is deposited into my bank account at the end of the month. Because when you're freelancing, it's very like sometimes you take on two clients this month, sometimes you take on three clients this other month. So I would say just financial stability. I do miss it a little bit. To know that okay, this is a fixed amount of money that I'm gonna get this month, because then it really helps me with my finances. Whereas freelancing, I miss about having like a full-time role somewhere.
If you were proposed to go full time right now, would you do that?
I will if it's fully remote. I
Okay.
will not go back to an office.
So, as a freelancer, how do you deal with financial instability? Like, what is your approach to have this um, mindset that it's gonna be okay? Not to freaking out.
I think I saved quite a bit when I did have like a full-time job, like a stable financial income. So I did manage to save a bit of money. But I would say when things does get a bit hard and I like lose a few clients in a month, and it does get a little bit stressful. I think I tend to be somebody who is a little bit more positive than others. I can be very realistic, but I can also be a little bit dreamy and naive. So I always tell myself, yeah, it's okay. Like, I know what I'm doing. I am good at my job. I don't think it'll be hard for me to find another client. And I've been very, very lucky that I've always managed to find clients, even if I have lost one or two in the same month. So just being a little bit over positive, I guess, has helped a lot.
What is your approach of finding? I mean, like not just finding, but replacing those lost clients.
Yeah. I think I think, as a freelancer, you should take a lot of pride in your work, because people whether that's freelancing or a full-time job, I've always taken a lot of pride in work. I always make sure, I deliver on time. I do a good job. So I've always managed to get a lot of referrals. And I've also had to like reject some previous clients I've worked with, because right now I've got too many things on my hands. So the first thing that I do if I was to lose a few clients is to go back to my old clients and be like, hey, I'm free now. Like, do you need any help? So I would say, first do a really, really good job, take a lot of pride in your work, and I don't think it will be that hard to find your next client. At the beginning, when I first started, I was using Upwork a lot. But then once I've sort of like made a name for myself, started networking on LinkedIn and like different sort of like remote communities, then all of my clients started coming from LinkedIn instead. They've either seen my work, or one of their friend has worked together with me and they've had a lot of good feedback about me. So I would say most important thing is to take pride in your work, deliver, do a good job. Then I don't think it will be a problem to find clients.
Am I hearing it correctly? So when you need a client, you just let everyone know that you are looking for a
Yeah,
client?
yeah, for sure. I will go back to my own clients, ask my friends, try to insert myself in places to be like, oh yeah, well, I could do it for you. Like, I think you have to be a little bit shameless to go look for clients as a freelancer. You can't just always wait around waiting for somebody to come and approach you. Sometimes you have to get out there, and to insert yourself in places to get opportunities.
Yeah, it's something that I'm trying to tell to people because we're building this 9am platform with projects inside, and People sometimes write in me messages like, yeah, I'm just applied for 3 projects and I didn't receive an answer. So yeah, I don't really like your platform. I was like, okay, but did you follow up? Did you find them on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Did you send them a message? Did you find someone, some mutual connections with people who are working for this company? Like, what did you do? Did you just apply? Yeah, I just applied. I was like, okay. So I feel like right now it's a time of being a little bit more proactive than just
For
clicking a
sure.
button, apply, because
Yeah,
otherwise, how to stand out. So I feel like that's exactly what you are
exactly.
doing. So basically, you are very actively and, as you've said, shamelessly telling people that you are looking for a project, which is great, I think, which is totally good.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the world we're living in right now, right? Like it's so hard to stand out. You really got to do something. I think a lot of the times people just want everything handed to them on a silver platter, but that's not always going to be the case. And like I said, like if you want something bad enough, you have to go get it. You have to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Just sitting around and waiting for other people to come to you, like I don't think that's really going to work. At least not in this day and age when everything is so interconnected with the internet.
What is the most time consuming thing you must deal with as a freelancer, except for professional jobs that you are doing?
Okay. I think most time consuming thing. I think it's being able to balance the different clients, if that makes sense. Because obviously, for instance, usually I don't take on anything more than 3 clients at a time because that is really as much mental capacity as I can possibly have. Because each client is different, each client is a different industry, a different task, a different project or whatsoever. So I think the most time consuming thing for me is to be able to wrap my head around like, okay, this week how much time do I have to dedicate to this client? Like how much time, what do I need to do for that client? Just being able to organize everything so the week goes on really, really well. I think that's actually more time consuming than people think it is. So usually every single Sunday, I would sit down and look at the task for the week for the week ahead, and I would time block my calendar according to the different clients and the different things that needs to be done. And that could take like a few hours out of my Sunday just to make sure everything is in place and I can start the week without having to be all over the place. Because I like to be organized in my work, so I try to be as organized as possible in that sense.
When I'm working with different clients, I'm not trying to be super, like original. And if I'm doing one thing for one client, I most definitely will try do the same thing for another client, because if it works for one client,
Oh,
maybe it will work for another. So I'm curious, do you have some kind of this tips and tricks of how to work with multiple clients at one moment better?
yeah, that's actually very smart. I actually never thought about it. I think it's because like most of the time like, my clients are so different in terms of like industry. So I've never really had the possibility of crossing over. But I would say, I guess like experience in the past, right? So for instance, like, I've done community management for some of my previous clients. And then with my new clients, I would probably bring in the same kind of knowledge and the same learnings that I've had managing other communities in the past to better aid my current client. But I just don't think I've had a lot of opportunities whereby at the same time, at the same client in the same industry, doing similar things. It might sound a bit crazy, but I love to challenge myself. I always want to try something new. I always want to do something new. So I rarely recycle something that I've done for one client for the other, unless it's something very specific and it works really well. If not, I always want to challenge myself to do better or try something different.
It's something that I've recently learned, and I was like super amazed about this. And I heard it from different people, and I noticed that it's really works that way. So when you are posted on LinkedIn, I was trying to make a super new post like every day, or to ensure that I never repeat myself and always do something differently. But then I noticed that even if I will post the same thing 5 days in a row, like there will always be some people who will find, oh, I've never heard about this. I was like, I just posted about this yesterday. Oh, I didn't see it. So it's really good to recycle. And I feel like for freelancer especially, it makes life easier, because you don't really have to be always super like I'm not telling that you just have to copy paste all the time all the things that you are doing, but it's still some kind of like very helpful thing. And I was like, "Oh, okay," because when I heard about this, I was like, no way people will, no, they will definitely understand that you wrote about this last week or something like that. And then I tried it, and then like, no, no,
No,
no.
I've
So
tried it too. I've tried it for a couple of my clients on LinkedIn. We've essentially recycled like a whole entire month worth of content from like, I don't know, less than a year ago, and like nobody even noticed it was the same content. Like, because there's so much content on like social media these days. You've probably seen it like 2 weeks ago, and you're like completely forgot as well because people have such short attention span these days. Yeah.
what is the most nerve-wracking thing you must deal with as a freelancer?
Oh, I think having the courage to tell your clients no.
Hmm.
I think that can sometimes be very nerve-wracking. Like I said, for me personally, I don't take on projects that I don't love and I'm not passionate about. And sometimes it can be very nerve-wracking because maybe this month I don't have enough money coming in from freelance. Very hard to say no to people when you kind of need the money. So I'd say that's one thing that's very nerve-wracking. And secondly, if somebody is always 100% right, right? So then sometimes there are things that I don't agree with my clients about, and it's not as easy to have those kind of conversations with them because you don't know that you could piss them off and tomorrow they're like, well, I don't want to work with you anymore because you don't want to do what I'm telling you to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's always this risk of like challenging your client, even though, your client has probably hired you because you're an expertise in this area, but sometimes, so having the guts to challenge the client sometimes can be very nerve-wracking as well.
As a freelancer, do you ever feel professional loneliness?
No. I have made so many online friends. I joke about this with my online friends all the time, like, because obviously I'm like a millennial, right? And then you see all this Gen Z, like, making friends online and having like best friends online and stuff like that. But then in the last few years, since I started freelancing, all of my friends became like online friends. And so many of them are like my really good friends that I speak to on a daily basis. So I've never felt lonely. And I also think like being able to freelance and having that freedom to use your time however you want to use it gave me a lot of opportunities to like go and meet people in person. Whereas, usually when you have a job, you go to work from like 9 to 5, these are the people that you see from Monday to Friday. You don't have an opportunity to go out and meet other people. Whereas as a freelancer, you have the opportunity to work from like, I don't know, maybe like 2 hours today, 2 hours in the morning, and then you can like go out to like a yoga class or go surfing and then you meet new people. So I've never felt lonely working freelance. I think I've probably made more friends working as freelancer than I have working in a company.
If your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
Mm, so I would say first, like I said, be okay with the fact that you're not going to have a stable income, and it is part of having the freedom of being a freelancer. And I think always be honest. I think honesty is a huge thing when it comes to freelancing, whether that's being honest with yourself about what you're capable of doing or being honest with the client of what you're able to deliver. I think that's very important. And I think thirdly, just be shameless and be daring enough to go out and ask for things, to look for clients, to insert yourself in places that maybe you shouldn't insert yourself in. So I would say, yeah, be okay with the money, be extremely honest, and be a little bit shameless.
I wish to have the sky's the limit, Gabriella, but time is the limit. So the final
Yeah.
question. If you were starting freelancing today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
If I was to start freelancing today, what would be the one thing I would have done differently? I think starting small, and just maybe try out with one client first and not being in a rush to pick so many clients when you've never freelanced before. I think sometimes it's very easy to say yes to everybody. But start small, learn the ropes because freelancing also requires you to have a lot of other skills, which usually when you freelance, you're working online, right? So there's a lot of like tools that you have to get to know how to use, whether that's like Slack, Notion, Monday.com. These are all new skills that you have to like acquire while freelancing. So start with one client, see how it goes, see how it works before you try to take on even more clients.
Got it. Gabriella, thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you
experience and
so
for
much
having
for
such an
having
open
me.
conversation.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.